Good afternoon. My name is John French, the acting mayor for the month of May. And as the councillor with that duty for this month, I will be chairing today's committee of the whole meeting. Item number one on our agenda is to welcome everyone to the Squamish Nation traditional territory. And in doing so, I want to point out that the territory is 6,732 kilometers, which translates to 673,200 hectares, encompassing 23 villages totaling 28.28 square kilometers or 2,828 hectares. There you go. Some Squamish Nation trivia for you. Please be advised that this council meeting is being live streamed, recorded, and will be available to the public to view on the District of Squamish website following the meeting. If you have any concerns, please notify the corporate officer present at today's meeting. Our second item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. It'll be moved by Mayor Herford, seconded by Councillor Pettingill. All in favor? Motion carries. And that moves us to item number 3, staff reports. And item A is cultural services on the downtown BIA annual report. I will turn it over to you to take us from here.
Awesome. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Stephanie Parsons. I am the Manager of Cultural Services, and I'm joined here today by Kerry Neal from the Downtown Squamish Business Improvement Association, otherwise known as the DSBIA. And Kerry will be presenting today on the BIA's recent achievements, community partnerships, the BIA's alignment with the Squamish Official Community Plan and the Arts, Culture, and Heritage Strategy, as well as community events and activations that contribute to the vibrancy of Squamish. So I'll pass it over to Kerry.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm not going to introduce myself. You all know who I am. Kerry Neal, Downtown Squamish BIA. Okay, I'm just going to see. Sorry, let's start this. There we go. I'm just going to kind of set us up for who we are, what our vision and mission is as the Downtown Squamish BIA. Downtown Squamish, our vision is that Downtown Squamish is a thriving business district, culturally and economically vibrant, promoting an inclusive and diverse community that is welcoming to all. And our mission is to provide value to our members, to keep our downtown beautiful, and to support our businesses in achieving economic success. We advocate on behalf of our businesses and collaborate with others to create a sustainable, equitable, and culturally accessible downtown Squamish. Just a little bit about us, for those that might not know, the Downtown Squamish BIA was established in 2006. So we are coming up for 20 years, if you can believe that. We are an association that works in partnership with small businesses and property owners in downtown. The Downtown Squamish BIA is creating a culturally and economically vibrant and thriving downtown core by undertaking a broad range of programs, area branding, marketing, social media beautification, promotional and community events, commercial tenant recruitment, engagement and advocacy. And we work to attract footfall to our catchment area, whether that is through events, marketing campaigns, advocacy or beautification. Supporting our businesses and property owners is actually our priority. And then just kind of moving on to who we are as a team. I am the executive director and I report to a board of 9 directors made up of downtown Squamish business owners. Just to point out who everybody is, I just want to actually recognize Katie Yui, our president, who's in the room with us today. Katie is the co-owner of Alice and Brome. We have Melissa DeWolf. She's our vice president from the Hive and Queen Bee Boudoir. Eddie Carter, he's the secretary from Race & Co. Kevin Young, he's our treasurer from Choco West Coast Chocolate. Danielle Ma, she's a director and owner of Seed Studio. Laura DeSecco from Grateful Gift Shop. Gerald Cote from Freshie. Jamie Brandon, he's the co-owner of Sunflower Bakery, and Boyd Folkard, who's the owner of Cliffside Cidery. And then just to kind of point out our community partnerships, we support initiatives and create partnerships with other organisations in Squamish that have similar values, goals and priorities. And here's just a list of of some of them. Hopefully I haven't missed anybody. I won't read them all out. Okay, and then just to kind of go over the BIA's alignment with the overall OCP goals. Here's kind of a list of where we kind of align, and I'll just speak to them briefly. In regards to downtown Squamish, the BIA is helping bring the district's vision for a vibrant, inclusive and walkable downtown to life through events, placemaking and the daily support of local businesses. Our work strengthens the heart of the community. With regards to climate change mitigation and adaptation, we support low waste events, active transportation, and promote businesses embracing sustainability, obviously aligning with the district's climate goals. With regards to transportation and mobility, by encouraging walkability, bike access, and better wayfinding, we are helping to reduce car dependency and support a more connected and accessible downtown. With regards to public safety, we believe a busy, well-maintained downtown is a safer one. Our presence, our events, and our partnerships contribute to a welcoming and secure downtown. With regards to economic development, everything we do supports the local economy, from driving foot traffic to promoting downtown as a business destination. With regards to community health and wellness, through events, public space activations and community programming, we are helping to create a sense of belonging, connection and vibrancy that supports social well-being. And of course, arts, culture and heritage, which is what we are here to speak about today. We celebrate Squamish's identity by supporting artists, elevating local culture and creating spaces for Indigenous and community voices in full alignment with the district's cultural vision. And I always kind of come back to this. This is from the official community plan about how arts and culture are fundamental to a community's vibrancy. This is a quote we come back to often as when we're thinking about the arts and culture work that we're doing in the community. And then just to talk about the Downtown Squamish BIA's alignment with the district's arts, culture and heritage strategy. As part of our strategic work, the BIA closely aligns with the strategy, particularly in the areas of programming, space, cultural identity, and regional promotion. Under Tactic 3.4, we actively support the use of business spaces for artists, exhibitions, and create programming through Squamish Art. One of them ways is through Squamish Arts Art Walk. The Mural Walk is a great example as it turns downtown into an open air gallery. And we're also exploring ways to extend that through interior spaces and supporting events. We're also working with Squamish Arts to better connect local artists with business owners for like collaborations and pop-ups. And last year, all of the Mural Walk artists were invited to showcase their work through the Artisan Gallery through the month of July. So that's kind of under that tactic, under Tactic 4.2, promoting Squamish's cultural identity. We're already showcasing Squamish's cultural identity through events like Squamish Together on Canada Day, the Holiday Parade, and community-driven events that blend natural beauty and local creativity. Through our social media reels, member highlights and seasonal campaigns, we are celebrating both the people and the stories behind our downtown. And then finally, Tactic 4.3, regional promotion of arts, culture and heritage experiences. It's a natural fit with our ongoing marketing efforts. Through our partnership with Tourism Squamish, as well as our campaigns like Shop Small, Shop Merry, we're promoting Squamish as a destination not just for an outdoor adventure, but also for cultural and shopping experiences. And then we go on to the actual events and activations that we support. Here is a list of the events from 2024. In 2024, we added the Easter Hunt. It wasn't an event that was actually organised by the Downtown Squamish BIA. It was actually organised by another group, but we proudly supported it as it was a unique event, which actually had an educational twist to it. Children were invited to participate in a literacy rock hunt, where they searched for hidden rocks, each marked with letters. And the goal was that they came back and spelled a word and received prizes. It was a really imaginative and interactive experience, and the kids didn't even realize that they were learning something without even realizing it. So we fully support this event. It is run by a group, and we support it again in 2025. And of course, our other 5 main events: Squamish Together, the Squamish Mural Walk Festival, Open Street Day, Pumpkin Patch in the Park, and the Squamish Holiday Festival and Parade. Okay, just to kind of touch on them briefly, Squamish Together is a full-day celebration of art, culture, music, food, and community. It's really built on intentional and inclusive programming, educational programming, and it's designed to celebrate the diversity of Squamish. We can talk here, or see here, with regards to the community collaboration piece and the partnerships that have been created through this event. We can also see here that we have supported 25 plus local artists through the programming, through performance in song, dance, storytelling, and cultural expression. This is funded through, as well as obviously a portion of the partnership agreement, through a Celebrate Canada grant in 2024, through the BC Fairs Festival and Events grant, and local business sponsorship. And we've had over 250 volunteer hours contributed to it. And then, of course, that economic and tourism impact. It attracts residents and visitors to downtown, increases our foot traffic downtown, supports local vendors, food trucks, artists, and other community groups, generating income and exposure, encourages local spending in our shops, restaurants, and accommodations during the weekend, and enhances Squamish's identity as a welcoming, inclusive, and culturally rich destination. And it boosts visibility for Squamish on regional tourism calendars, encouraging return visits. The Squamish Mural Walk, a free year-round self-guided tour of murals in downtown Squamish, launched in 2021. So we're now in our 5th year, or going into our 5th year. Some highlights from 2024: we created 13 new murals. We have participating artists, including Indigenous, persons of colour, local, Squamish and Sea to Sky artists, female, national, and we had an international artist. There was over 200 volunteer hours for the event, and that was our 3rd. And alongside, we hosted our 3rd annual Open Street Day. And I just want to talk to the overall festival impact of the Squamish Mural Walk from 2021 to 2024. We've actually hosted over 43 artists. Beyond grants, we've actually raised $181,000 in additional funding and in-kind support. And over those 4 years, it's been over 800 volunteer hours. And again, that tourism, business, and local and economic impact it's very similar. We're attracting locals and visitors year-round, increasing foot traffic to downtown Squamish. It boosts sales for our local cafes, shops, restaurants, especially during the mural events and the Open Street Day. Supports our local economy through hotel bookings, artist residencies, and vendor participation, and strengthens Squamish identity as a creative and cultural destination, and encourages repeat visits and word-of-mouth promotion from tourists and locals. Open Street Day launched in 2022, and we're preparing for our 4th annual Open Street Day in 2025. As we all know, it's a celebration of the vibrancy of downtown Squamish, reclaiming Cleveland Avenue as a community-focused public space. The key features: it transforms streets into pedestrian-first zones. It invites local businesses to engage and interact and reimagine the space, usually used for vehicles and parking. Offers residents and visitors a new perspective on the downtown core, promotes active transportation, and over 100 volunteer hours have been contributed. And of course, the community impact part fosters a good sense of belonging and inclusion, and strengthens the connection between public space and community well-being. And then with regards to economic and tourism impact, obviously it's driving foot traffic. I feel like actually I should have done a summary of economic and tourism impact at the end for all of these events. So I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but we can see it has the effect that it has, right, on our economic and tourism impact across the board. And of course, the pumpkin patch in the park. This is a partnership that we have with the Rotary Club of Squamish. It's a family friendly event designed to be as affordable as possible through sponsorship and volunteer support. And all proceeds are donated to a local charity or non-profit. And the community impacts, it obviously strengthens the connection between our families, local organisations and the business community, and supports local giving by directly channeling event proceeds. And then just coming on to the last event that we do of the year, which in 2024 became the Holiday Festival and Parade. It was a magical, family-friendly parade brought downtown Squamish to life. We had over 4,000 attendees line the route from the Logsort to Pemberton Avenue. As part of it, we hosted Santa's Grotto and a holiday market at the Pavilion and Squamish Plaza. Drew thousands of people to downtown Squamish, and boosted seasonal sales for retailers. As part of the event this year, we asked our members and businesses to stay open until 8 p.m. So they saw a lot more traffic and people stayed down later, which is awesome. And it helped kickstart the winter economy. Let's hope so anyway. That's what I've put here. Bring vibrancy to the community. It kicks off the start of the holiday season. It's kind of what I'm trying to get to at that point. And of course, created a shared and festive experience for residents and visitors. I'm not going to repeat the same thing again. Okay, now we're just kind of moving on to the impact, the collective impact of our partnership agreement. Through the partnership agreement, we've been able to deliver collective impact that touches on culture, community, and the local economy. With regards to vibrant cultural programming, we supported 6 major events this year, from the Squamish Mural Walk to the Holiday Festival and Parade, which are all designed to celebrate culture, creativity and connection. These events actually allowed us to employ up to 85 artists, including Indigenous, people of colour, our LGBTQ2S+ community, neurodiverse, disabled artists, offer an inclusive platform for diverse voices and talents. And we've helped make art and culture programming more accessible, more inclusive and more visible across the community. The success of our events would not be possible without the community. In total, we have seen over 800 volunteer hours contributed, a powerful sign of local investment and pride. We've also deepened our partnerships with key organisations, including the Squamish Nation, Squamish Arts, Tourism Squamish, and many other local businesses. And these collaborations promote kind of a social inclusion, cross-cultural dialogue, and offer a stronger and more connected Squamish. With regards to the economic and tourism impact, these events attracted thousands of attendees, locals and visitors, and it brings a real energy to downtown Squamish, to our downtown core. Local businesses, artists and vendors have all directly benefited from the increased exposure and revenue. And on a broader level, the partnership has helped us position Squamish as a vibrant year-round cultural destination, not just a stopover, but a place to experience. And then I just want to touch on, just following on from that with regards to the shared vision, I believe, that the district and the downtown Squamish BA have. At the heart of this work is a shared vision between the BIA and the district. In 2024, we reclaimed public spaces with events and activations that brought people together and reflected on the character of our community. By investing in arts, culture and community engagement, we're investing in the long-term health and vibrancy of Squamish. And none of this would be possible without the foundational support of the district through the partnership agreement. The agreement has enabled us to plan, to execute and sustainable events that benefit the entire community. And then from a return on investment perspective, the impact is pretty clear. The district in 2024, the district contributed $45,000. We've leveraged funding of $92,000 from sponsors, grants and vendors, making the return on investment 204%. And then just to talk about what the BIA additionally achieved in 2024. So thanks to the partnership agreement, the BIA can direct more of its operational capacity towards strategic initiatives that benefit our members, strengthen downtown, and create longer term value for the community. With regard to the key initiatives and achievements, we have stronger membership engagement. We've improved our communication and our outreach with our local businesses, inviting more collaboration, input, and shared planning around key projects. We offer practical workshops now covering marketing, social media, digital tools, and customer engagement, helping businesses stay more competitive and connected. We launched an umbrella share program. This simple kind of community mining initiative enhances a pedestrian experience in downtown, even on rainy days. We have amplified the visibility of downtown businesses through seasonal campaigns, spotlights, and daily social media content that promotes vibrancy and engagement. We're able to support our businesses with meta ads and digital engagement. So we provide a hands-on assistance to help our businesses improve their digital reach through targeted ad campaigns and better strategies. With regards to the business spotlights, through storytelling and local profiles, we've helped create stronger community connections with the businesses and the community. Of course, our beautification projects include the flower baskets and some signage and other visual enhancements. And we're working right now. It's in progress with regards to a downtown clean and safe program. We're currently researching best practices for a downtown clean program focused on improving cleanliness, aesthetics, and overall safety. And we are part of a joint engagement committee that helps us to align and communicate with our community partners and stakeholders and all levels of government. And then just the last thing I want to speak to is looking ahead. Looking to the future, we're exploring new placemaking projects and public realm enhancements to build on what we've already started. We'll be evaluating our strategic plan and looking at a rebrand of the Downtown Squamish BIA to reflect our evolving identity. And we'll continue advocating for a resilient and inclusive and thriving downtown. And we continue to deepen partnerships with businesses, artists, and service providers across the community. Okay. I just wanted to say I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to speak today about what we've been doing in downtown. It's been a while since we've had a chance to come to council chambers and talk about what we've been doing a couple of years. And if it doesn't come across, I just wanted to reiterate how committed as an organisation we are to making downtown as vibrant and inclusive and safe as possible.
Thanks for the presentation. I'm sure there are many questions, Councillor. Councillor Hamilton, thanks for starting us off.
Thanks very much. Every now and again, folks bat around the idea of making Cleveland pedestrian only. That's a large topic that's well beyond the scope of just downtown BIA. But a small piece of that is the open street day, right? Is there any possible scope for expanding Open Street Day to examine the potential impact of that sort of more permanent, much larger change?
Absolutely. Sorry, is that on? Yeah, sorry. Yes, absolutely. We can definitely explore it. I think we've had lots of conversations about having more open street days, and we would support every open street day possible. I think where it falls is the cost of closing down Cleveland Avenue.
Can you speak to what those costs are? And this is maybe, I'm interested in knowing.
Yeah,
Maybe it's our permits.
It depends on, so we obviously, there is a cost to close down Cleveland Avenue. The cost comes obviously through I think it's for the most part through the public works budget. Is that correct,
Yes,
Stephanie? Yeah. So there's only so many times we can close down the street to fit within the budgets that they have. Yeah. And just to speak to that a little bit more, it really depends on how big that closure is. The smaller the closure, the amount of, or the bigger the closure, the amount of time, it's a different cost. Yeah.
Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, thanks. It just wondering, curious, a BIA and there's other similar organizations could be very much just a business lobby or just a downtown business lobby, or that could be the focus. In my sort of, over the last few years, we've seen a real, I would say, sort of community focus and community benefit piece. I'm just wondering if you can speak to what you think is the sort of why you've gone that way, or what might be driving that, or just some reflection on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're trying to do is kind of cover all the things. We've obviously increased budgets over the last few years, so we have more resources to do more things. We think it's really important for a downtown to be vibrant, and obviously our mandate is to get footfall downtown. And part of that is creating beautiful things, whether that's events, whether that's murals, flower displays. I think that's the most important, the important part. We still do our engagement, we still do our advocacy, and it is part of our mandate of what we do. But as far as our business is surviving this current economy, then the important thing is for us to get people downtown.
Mayor Herford.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation and for all the hard work. I'm curious about the involvement or coordination with the other events that happen downtown that that you're not the lead on, and what does that look like? And should that, are there any concerns we have or success stories to share with other events? I'm thinking, I don't know, Sikh parades, Squamish days, running events. There's all these other major things that happen downtown and that likely have an impact. Possibly positive, possibly negative overall on the businesses. I'm just curious how you interact with those.
Yeah, so it's actually awesome. Like, the more events that we see downtown, the better. Again, it's bringing more people downtown, and so I think the other important thing for us is actually to make downtown as beautiful as possible. So when people come down, they actually realize they're going to have a really good time and it's going to be really nice. So when just to kind of reference back to the clean program that I mentioned, that's something that we're really focusing on for 2025, is kind of getting postering cleaned up, getting any graffiti cleaned up. So that it does make it a really nice experience when you do come down for any of the events. With regards to the communication that we have with the other event organizers, it's very open. They share the information with us. We share it with our members. We share it out through our social media. It's always been a really great conversations. And I truthfully don't think any of the events have a negative impact on downtown. And then just to speak to actually the Squamish Arts Festival this year, we actually decided to bring the Squamish Arts Festival and the Squamish Mural Walk together on the same weekend to have a little less impact, I suppose, on a number of things. A, our resources and budgets, B, the impact, of shutting the street down again for the impact of parking and so there's a very open conversation with all the events that are happening downtown.
Thank you. It's great to hear that. My next question is around the footprint of the BIA area. Just is that a discussion that where do you see that going, and when does that discussion come to us? I don't know if that's exclusively for you or for staff, as I know there's process here.
Yeah,
there's anything you can share?
There's definitely a process, and we're actually in the the beginning stages of our BIA renewal, and just kind of touch on what we've done so far. We obviously right now we're from Pemberton Avenue to Westminster, Loggers Lane to 2nd Avenue, with a little cut out of 3rd Avenue. We've actually just gone through the process of reaching out to all the businesses on 3rd Avenue, all the property owners on 3rd Avenue, to share like our that we are like looking at the extension of the downtown Squamish BIA. So we're definitely looking at a boundary expansion. Whether that will come at our next bylaw renewal in 2026, I don't think so. I think it's probably something that's a little bit further along. And the reason being is a lot of the buildings, they haven't filled their commercial spaces. So we're going to impact those property owners. We don't want to impact those property owners before they have tenants. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Chair, I realize the rest of my questions are actually not questions, they're comments. So I was going to move receipt and make those comments if we're ready for that.
We're not quite ready. Councillor Greenlaw has a question.
It was actually about expanding the BIA boundary. So, so I think actually, I do have a little question. Do you have any comments on how, like, my understanding is the BIA offers, basically free promotion for some of the businesses. Do you have any idea if how much that's negatively impacting businesses, say on 3rd that aren't receiving that? Yeah,
that's a great question. We actually offer an associate membership to the business adjacent to our catchment area. So for a nominal fee, they can be part of the BIA, and they receive all the marketing and support that we do for our members. The only thing that they obviously don't receive is a vote at our AGM. So we do offer an associate membership to those outside of our catchment area.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Stoner, we are into overtime, but go ahead.
Thanks through the chair. Thanks for all the work that you do in spotlighting all the community building events. I am curious from a business advocacy perspective, what you're seeing as being maybe like the top challenges for your business community at the moment, your membership, that we should be aware of at this table.
Yeah. So with regards to advocacy, the priorities recently had been the downtown paid parking. So that was one of the biggest ones. The other one is kind of the economy and, how we can support our businesses in the current climate. I think they're kind of the two right now that I can speak to. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Mayor Herford, over to you.
I'll move receipt of the report.
Seconded by Councillor Greenlaw.
And just
comments?
Just briefly, thank you so much for the work. I know it's hard to turn all that work into, just to break it down just to this, because I know it represents many hundreds of hours of work, both by yourself, your board, and of course, volunteers broadly in the community. So I really appreciate that. And I know that your work has a dramatic impact on the well-being of our community, both from a business perspective and from an arts and cultures perspective, as well as setting up the other events that operate in the downtown for success. So thank you for all the work, and I'm happy to receive the report and to see that things are well in hand in our downtown. Thanks to you and your team. So thank you very much.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. This presentation, and particularly focused on events, I found very well presented and learned a few things. Things brought to my mind. You have also touched on advocacy. And advocacy I'm not sure how it's addressed in the partnership agreement. You would need to exist for advocacy one way or another, and you do conduct advocacy with respect to transportation issues. My point here is whether it's transportation issues or the downtown property tax situation and the BC assessment, that whole puzzle, and community policing and your clean downtown. I do hope that you feel you have an open door with our respective staff members, protective services, transportation planners, and council for that advocacy work. I'll also note that from my perspective, the collaboration that the BIA has currently with Squamish Arts, on which you sit on the board, Ms. Neal, and the Chamber and Tourism Squamish has never been stronger. And I think it has really been a benefit for all three organizations, your participation in that. Thank you.
Councillor Greenlaw, followed by Councillor Pettingill.
Thanks to the chair. I just want to say thanks so much for the presentation. Thanks for the information. It was a really well done presentation with a lot of helpful information. Got kind of the creativity flowing a bit. And I wanted to make a plug for another community event. So I was in Paris a long time ago, and I just so happened to be there for a Nuit Blanche. Do you know what have you ever heard? Okay, so it's basically a nighttime culture crawl. And so it highlights all these local artists and stuff, and all the local businesses are open. I mean, it's Paris, so there was trains involved and stuff. We could just do a walking. And anyways, it was just a really nice, way to promote local artists, and it pretty similar to the East Van Culture Crawl, where you can go in and visit artist studios. But and maybe that would be part of it. But just having that kind of on the street kind of evening vibe with that arts and culture center. So anyways, that's my plug. Yeah, thanks.
Take that to the BIA.
Sweet, make it happen. Cool, thank you.
Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, thanks so much for all the work. And just one thing, a bit of a random sort of tangent, but it made me recognize, I know that the building in Junction Park has seen better days, but thinking about all these events, that space seems to have been so critical for tents and organizing and making a lot of these things happen. So I guess just a mental note for all of us here to think about if we are retiring or changing things there. I think a lot of these fantastic events are pretty dependent on that space in that location or something equivalent. And so we need to really think about some of the impacts if changes happen there. But thank you for everything.
And with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms. Neal, Ms. Parsons. And we will switch gears for our next topic, item B, community development, OurSquamish annual report and downtown urban forest study. And that will just take a quick moment to transition over. Okay, looks like you're all set with the presentation. Our Squamish annual report and downtown urban forest study. I'll hand it over to you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Mayor, and Council. My name is Kerry Hamilton. I'm a planner at the District of Squamish, and I'm the
the staff lead for our newest community partnership agreement with OurSquamish. And we have two members from OurSquamish here today to present to you their work that they've been up to in the last for 2024, as well as a very exciting study called the Urban Forest and Downtown Squamish study that they did in 2024 for your review. I'll pass it over.
Yeah, we'll leave that on. Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman and Council. As you said, my name is Anna Kroeker, and I am the Program Manager for OurSquamish. Next, to click it this way. Click it this way. Amazing. Today we are representing OurSquamish Placemaking Society to report on our past year of work in the community. OurSquamish is a community nonprofit charity dedicated to enhancing Squamish's urban public spaces for a lively, inclusive, sustainable, safe, and healthy Squamish. As always, we would like to acknowledge that our work takes place on the unceded territories of the Squamish people, and we are aware that the traditional underpinnings of conventional placemaking are very rooted in colonial practices, and that is something that we are working to decolonize and put a lot of active work into. I'm going to be talking first about our 2024 highlights. 2024 was a significant year for OurSquamish as we successfully onboarded new staff and board members and undertook our largest research project to date, which is an urban tree canopy study. We hosted community events, we completed and maintained our new and existing built projects, and we continued our social enterprise bike valet. So first, our meetups and community partnerships. Our activities this year engaged over 300 people through volunteer opportunities, placemaking meetups, and public engagement. Open Street Days, an event that we were co-organizing and partnering on, brought out the community in the thousands. We heard about that from Kerry just recently. We also got to work with ProSpace, organizing a multicultural potluck that was very well attended and delicious. Our other events were a photography, learning and walking tour with Nina Laflamme, a biodiversity walk with Austin Chor, and our annual general meeting, which was open to the public and hosted at Locavor. Work is continuing on the Garibaldi Pocket Park project, as you can see in the picture up there. In 2024, we finished phase 1 of this project by installing professional signage. And we also did a mass planting of daffodils in that area to be enjoyed every spring. They're just at the end of their run now, but they've been looking really nice for quite a while. Plans are underway for further artwork in that space and planting of local plants in the new year to expand on current unmaintained garden beds in that area. We also completed maintenance and inventory of all of our bus benches and planters, and we have continued plans for future maintenance and longevity of those projects. OurSquamish continues to promote and provide infrastructure for cycling and walking within Squamish. The OurSquamish Bike Valet Social Enterprise is a popular service for local events, providing attendees with a free, secure service to encourage cycling. Dedicated bike parking supports wider sustainability goals by encouraging active transportation instead of car travel to the downtown core. Our bike valet parked over 1,300 bikes this year and generated over $7,000 in income to continue supporting our placemaking activities. We were also able to provide fun local volunteer opportunities for the community, with 20 volunteers helping us on this project for a total of just over 100 volunteer hours. The District of Squamish's partnership contribution was essential for us to be able to hire a program manager, that's me, who was able to implement our mission and strategic objectives. Thanks, I wrote that about myself, but there you go. We also, as I mentioned earlier, were able to complete our largest research project to date, something that we are going to be bringing to you in some more detail today. So I'm going to turn this over to Hope, one of our main writers and researchers on this project, to talk about it further.
Shift around a little bit.
There you go.
Thank you. So, hello, Chair, Mayor, Council. As Anna mentioned, my name is Hope, and I'm here to provide a high-level overview of our report. So this project began with an idea from OurSquamish to study the tree canopy in downtown Squamish. So when a funding opportunity through Plan H, which is a BC Healthy Communities program, when that became available, it was a really great fit for us. So Plan H supports partnerships that promote health and equity in communities. With their grant and support from the district, we assessed the tree canopy and developed some recommendations to guide a future urban forest management strategy. So we approached this study in several ways. With support from BCIT, we used LiDAR imaging, which is that drone in the photo on the slide, to map canopy coverage. We supplemented this with a walkthrough assessment to add just a bit more context to the LiDAR imaging. And we also conducted a community survey to understand the public's view. And we compared the canopy data with census information to understand and assess the equity of tree canopy distribution. So I could talk all day about trees, I will not, but just a few things. So urban trees are far more than aesthetic features. They serve as critical infrastructure that supports both environmental and public health. They improve air quality by filtering pollutants and releasing oxygen. So for instance, research has shown that tree canopies can remove hundreds, even thousands of tons of pollutants each year from the air. So as a result, areas with more street trees tend to see lower rates of things like asthma and lung cancer. Urban trees are also key to cooling our communities. By providing shade and releasing moisture, they help reduce urban heat, which is a growing concern as we experience more frequent extreme heat events, such as the 2021 heat dome, which I'm sure we all remember. Additionally, trees play an important role in things like stormwater management. So their canopies and root systems intercept and absorb rainfall, which then helps reduce the strain on drainage infrastructure and lowers long-term maintenance costs. So we can think of events such as what happened in North and West Van, for instance, most recently with the flooding there. Beyond some of these environmental benefits, urban trees contribute to safer and more connected communities. Studies consistently show that greener neighborhoods are associated with lower crime rates. Slower vehicle speeds and stronger social cohesion. Finally, the presence of street trees has a direct impact on mental and physical health. Simply spending time near trees can reduce stress, improve overall well-being, and lower rates of mental illness. So currently, downtown Squamish has about a 14% canopy, which is seen in this image. That was what the LiDAR data was able to give us. So this 14% is actually comparable to other cities in BC, but falls short of best practices. So as per the best practices, cities, communities should be aiming for 30% canopy, with the goal that every person would be able to see 3 trees from their home and access green space within 300 meters. So the overall tree canopy is reporting low, but we have some areas of strength. So looking at the map, you can see the areas near the estuary, in your parks like Stan Clark and Junction Park have a really strong canopy. But there are some key pedestrian zones like Cleveland and 2nd Avenue and some of the residential areas on 3rd and 4th that have almost no canopy. We also saw trees or areas of tree clearing in anticipation of future development, but the development hadn't actually started. So this was some photos of our walkthrough. So this assessment, as I mentioned, helped us understand the conditions on the ground. So we saw, again, some successes and challenges. In one example, there was a new development and some of the young street trees were doing really well where they had ample soil and irrigation. But then there were some cases where almost similar trees were planted in small grates without this proper care and were struggling. So this just is one thing that, underscores the importance of planting conditions just as something to consider, which are key to long-term tree health. The other photos on the slide just show some of these areas that I previously mentioned where the canopy is low. So you can look down, that one street and see, a tree far down the road, but nothing else. And then an area of future development where the trees were cleared. But again, nothing's, being built yet. Part of this was also conducting a community survey, which we did last fall, and we heard from 105 residents. The message was clear. People want more trees downtown. Many pointed to areas like Cleveland Avenue as needing more shade, especially with the hotter summers. Residents really supported planting of these large shade trees and paying attention to native species, and expressed some concern about the removal of some big mature trees, which provide such irreplaceable benefits. Overall, the survey showed strong public support for expanding and protecting the urban forest. Another part, as I mentioned, was that we compared the census data to the tree canopy. So what was done was essentially the census is able to provide some smaller dissemination areas. It's a rough estimate. So a few little areas that weren't perfect, but it just gave a broad overview of what if trees were equitably distributed downtown. So looking at the census data, we can see, so census area 1, as seen on the slide, was found to have the highest proportion of both older adults and young children. And fortunately, this area had also a relatively high tree canopy. So given the higher risk of heat-related illness for these groups, maintaining and strengthening the canopy here remains important. Encouragingly, overall, there was no assessed link between lower income and lower tree canopy. However, during the community walkthrough, we did note fewer street trees near key social support services, such as Under One Roof and Pearl Space. We also found that in census area 3, there was a higher proportion of new immigrants and a noticeably lower tree canopy. So while newcomers may often arrive to Canada with better health, their health actually continues to decline due to stressors like things like housing, living conditions, overall just stress with living in a new environment, which again can increase vulnerability to things like heat and pollution. So important for the tree canopy. Luckily, as you know, there's these few things, there were no major inequities that were really obvious right now. But an equity lens will be really important moving forward, prioritizing tree planting where vulnerable populations live, especially older adults, young children, and newcomers, can help guide future downtown canopy improvements. So to close, I'd like to highlight some key recommendations. So first, we recommend developing a comprehensive urban forest management strategy. This could include clear canopy targets, both for the district overall and for individual neighborhoods, with attention to land use and equity. It's important to identify priority planting areas and engage the community through education, planting events, and incentive programs. We also suggest a possible strengthening of development-related bylaws, things like the tree management bylaw, to better protect some of these high-value shade trees, which could further support long-term canopy growth. We also recommend incorporating trees into active transportation planning. So trees can provide shade and buffer pedestrians and cyclists from traffic, with species being selected to support safety and visibility. Wherever feasible, designs should preserve mature trees, even if that means adjusting the route. Together, these actions will help create a healthier, more equitable, and climate-resilient urban forest for downtown Squamish and the district as a whole. Thanks, and I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Hope. So that is totally washed out, but it says our goals and projects. We are very excited for this 2025 year that is underway. We have some key goals listed here, and we have started to embark on actually many of these projects as it is May now, and we have lots of plans underway for the rest of the year. So we do plan to do 4 new unique build projects. We plan to continue sharing the findings from this tree canopy study, as well as searching for new ways to continue promoting and creating next steps for this project. We are centering our community placemaking meetups this year, and so we plan to host a minimum of 8. We've already hosted 3, including a community presentation of the tree canopy study, which was wonderful. We've also had the opportunity to work with and support a few other organizations. The Easter event we were at, and we were hosting a button making station, and we were also able to present our tree canopy study to BCIT students through actually Councillor Anderson. We have a part 2 of our 2 May bike jams, which is coming up next Thursday, just saying, on the 29th. So that's going to be super fun. We will be also continuing our bike valet services this year. Just last week, we received confirmation of a grant for Bike Valet operations this summer. We're very excited to share. And so we are excited to use this grant to better support community events in town. We also will continue to commit to creating meaningful volunteer opportunities through Bike Valet and other projects, and continue to provide meaningful employment for program manager. And we're also excited to share that we will be hiring a summer communications and engagement coordinator with help from a Canada Summer Jobs grant. And we also plan to continue to build and maintain a good working relationship with the District of Squamish. We work with many wonderful organizations and plan to continue these partnerships this year. On this slide is a list of some of the, I think I didn't miss anyone, but of the organizations that we have worked with and are planning partnerships with in this coming year. To conclude, we've had a wonderful year last year. We're very excited to have been able to present this urban tree canopy study to all of you. There's been, as you can see, a lot of work that's gone into that. We have a lot of wonderful plans for this coming year, and we are very excited to continue our work in the community. Thank you very much for your time, and we welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Council, questions? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a question for the tree canopy study. The report notes that Cleveland and 2nd Avenue have little to no tree canopy, and that should be an important opportunity to aspire to address that. In the early mid-70s, there was a downtown revitalization project which did a lot of tree planting on 2nd and Cleveland, and on 2nd, some of those conifers are legacies from that. However, by the time we got around to the 1990s, the Cleveland between Victoria and Pemberton had very healthy 25-year-old trees lining the sidewalks, and they were taken out at that time for practical reasons, and I don't recall what they were. My question to you is, can we be optimistic that we can find the right species solutions and growing medium solutions to reintroduce tree canopy, tree planting on Cleveland?
Unfortunately, not a tree expert. My background is a nurse, so I'm really great at speaking to health and the impacts of trees. And I'm personally not in a great position to speak to specific health of trees and species. I'm not sure if Kerry, you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Through the chair, I believe we just recently presented the Downtown Streetscapes document to council, and that document specifies different tree species and a diversity of tree species. So I believe disease was part of the issue around the removal of the Cleveland Avenue trees. And so what we tried to do is provide a diverse range of trees on each street, a consistent kind of theme for the beautification aspect, but also a diversity of options, so that if a disease were to come to downtown, that we wouldn't lose all of our street trees due to that disease.
Councillor Pettingill, followed by Mayor Herford, and then Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, just thinking aloud, I wonder if we went one lane on Cleveland and 2nd, if we would have room for trees and bike lanes and stuff, but I'll just leave that. I didn't actually see the streetscape guidelines we just saw mentioned. Is that just because that's so new? Like, is that one of the places where we would expect to see the recommendations addressed?
To the chair, a lot of the recommendations for this were for the tree management bylaw, which is related to tree removal and preservation. And then there's also some recommendations for the upcoming urban forest management strategy. So that's, I think, where they've focused a lot of their recommendations on, as the streetscape project was kind of wrapping up while they were doing this study.
You and just go to OurSquamish in general. I recently was able to go on the last bike ride, missed the ice cream at the end, unfortunately, and I'm going to miss the next ride because I'll be in Pemberton. But just, do you need to know, or who can go on these things? I'm just wondering if you can speak to who can or should attend, or who does attend these things.
Thanks. Through the chair, yes. So this is a great question. we really try to host a very diverse range of our placemaking meetups. So some we have hosted earlier in this year. We had a community coffee where interested citizens and our community members were able to come and talk about what was interesting to them in the community and where they see they'd like improvement. And that was, I mean, all of our meetups are really open to everybody, but it really depends on those who want to drop in and maybe just make a bit more of a community. Or if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, we had our urban forest presentation. So we had a long PowerPoint on that one and a lot of interest in that. So our placemaking meetups are all open to all community members, and we try to have a diverse enough range of topics so it can be open to everybody based on their interests. And you can certainly come to a lot. Every time I open Eventbrite, it says we have a lot of repeat customers, which is really nice. But yeah, you can definitely choose which are the most interesting to you.
Mayor Herford.
Thank you. I think we may have just touched on that, but I'm just wondering about sort of next steps with this. Our recommendation today is we receive this, and this is going to inform those future policy development that we heard from Ms. Hamilton. That's sort of the intent of this at this point?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for like where to from here, and this does fit there. So thank you for all. I'll leave it with just thank you for all the work to some really eye-opening pieces here, and look forward to incorporating into future policy.
Councillor Hamilton, just checking in. You haven't had, okay. Councillor Stoner.
Thank you. Through the chair. A few questions on the tree canopy work. And thank you for all the research. With regards to the recommendations around the tree management bylaw and the development related bylaws, there's a real tension often around tree retention and the feasibility of construction. Do you have any thoughts around how we would manage that trade-off at this table with the recommendations you're putting forward?
So through the chair, I will just quickly start and just say that a lot of the recommendations in the report were really just based on things that other jurisdictions have been doing. So I looked at a lot of urban forest management strategies across BC and tried to really focus on communities that were similar to our size and just the uniqueness of Squamish. And it's really complex. And that really shines through in a lot of both the literature and the urban forest plans of just that exact complexity in terms of striking this balance between preserving a canopy and understanding how important it is for the health of a population, as well as understanding that a community like Squamish is growing so rapidly. There's a lot of growth happening all across BC and really trying to strike that balance. So the recommendations were kind of, this would be great. And things that we saw across the board. And I don't know, Kerry, I don't want to speak too much to the district policy, so I don't know if there's anything to add.
All I would add is that the recommendation is general enough so that the staff who will be doing any updates to the tree management bylaw will look at those challenges and provide some solutions to that for council consideration at a later date.
Thanks for that. And then my other question was just, do we ever plant our own trees, or do we always rely on redevelopment for tree planting? So if we were to actually want to increase the canopy on our own, say for Cleveland, is that something that we would do? Have done, ever do? Refer it to budget?
Through the chair, yeah, I don't believe we have a program right now for that. I believe our public works team will do any maintenance or repair of trees, but I don't believe we have anything in place.
Through the chair, one of the really interesting things through this study was seeing how the community can really be involved. So if it ever gets to the point where, some of these policies and programs are being put in place, other jurisdictions are doing some really awesome things. And it showed also in the literature of just how important it is for community to feel connection to trees, to feel connected to growing the canopy, because we saw it in Squamish about how people feel with trees. And yeah, other jurisdictions do really cool things. So if you're ever interested, Vancouver, for instance, has this program called Cool Kit, and it's this whole big resource in terms of how to involve the community in the urban forest management, which was really cool. The Sunshine Coast does some stuff. So yeah, that's an option as well.
I'll go back around to Councillor Pettingill. If there's nobody, Councillor, yeah, go ahead.
If you came across anything in the conversations or research that speaks to not just trees, but shrubs and bushes and flowers and so on. We heard from the BIA about beautification. I'm thinking, it's a little bit interesting. We at the Cleveland intersection to the highway, we took out a lot of bushes and greenery and put in gravel. And I presume it is much easier and more affordable to maintain, but it intuitively goes against some of the canopy-ish idea. There weren't trees there. I'm just wondering, did you see something beyond trees? Is it actually go a bit further than that, or?
Yeah, so through the chair, yes. Green is good for everything. The canopy specifically is really important for kind of those big environmental impacts, especially, health, air quality, et cetera. So in terms of the research, yes, the canopy is really important for that stuff. However, the research really supports just green. So, and even not even just green, just beautification of spaces. So there's research that shows, and this is kind of from another project I did, but being in an area where you feel connected to your community, or something like a third space where people go to gather, actually can increase oxytocin in your body and make you feel good and reduce instances of things like, mental illness, depression, anxiety, loneliness. So there's so much to say about large trees and how much they do, but that's not to say that things like just green spaces, flowers, shrubs, etc., don't have an impact. It's just a huge big tree can pull out so much from the air and improve heat and stuff like that. However, the green spaces, smaller things, have a really profound impact on things like social connectedness and more so mental health, as well as physical health. If people feel like they are safer and more drawn to be outside, they're walking more, they're biking more, they're rolling more, they're running more, etc. So all those things are really important, and the literature does show.
All right, Council, if there are no further questions, we do have a staff recommendation to receive, moved by Mayor Herford and seconded by Councillor Anderson. Mayor Herford, would you like to speak to it?
Just as I said earlier, thank you so much for your work on this, and really OurSquamish's work in general. I think the impact of your work can be felt throughout the community, and whether community members know that it is that is what they're feeling or not, I think it's your organization has been quite impactful in its time. Specifically on the urban canopy piece, I look forward to those future discussions around what that can look like with as it relates to challenges to develop, and how we grapple with that as a community, because I think we all have the same goal of having a thriving and extremely livable community, and this is an important part of that. So look forward to those future conversations, and this will equip us well to have those conversations. So thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. Ms. Moir, I really appreciated the health lens that you have applied to the report before us, and it's a bit unique, and I think it's part of your own personal take on it, and this would be very useful, very welcome, very useful for the next steps toward a district strategy. I also appreciated the emphasis on a quote, thorough engagement when developing, public engagement when developing the urban forest management strategy, a point not to be underemphasized. The report also refers to community heritage aspects of the urban tree canopy. We have in Stan Clark Park 22 birch trees, and most people aren't aware that it has a heritage connotation, that initiative. It's 22 servicemen who never came back from the wars. We also, last year, dealt with the Norway maple and its heritage connotations. That was to celebrate the milestone of the first seniors housing project in Squamish. We may or may not retain that tree, but the issue was brought forward. I'd like to make the point that there is a recommendation that is a bit missing, and that is we should be updating the tree management bylaw to include heritage trees. And in 1997, the planning department drafted a heritage tree bylaw, and it's somewhere in the filing cabinets. It was overlooked when the next council came in, but we should retrieve that and go back to work on it. And in fact, the heritage management strategy has a new recommendation, 3.6, update the tree management bylaw to include heritage trees. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Next, Councillor Greenlaw, followed by Councillor Pettingill.
Thanks to the chair. I just want to say thanks for bringing this information forward. I just keep hearing how important urban forests are, specifically around the quality of life, like improving quality of life, and in particular in terms of keeping temperatures down in core areas, as well as, you know, alleviating stress on infrastructure and keeping water in the ground and all these pieces. So these urban forests are just so important, not only for mental and personal health, and of course aesthetics. They're kind of win-win. And I couldn't help noticing, but notice on your LiDAR image, even though it's saying we have a 14% canopy in our downtown, really most of that's concentrated in areas that aren't developed. So it just leaves a lot of room for us to really keep that in mind when we're talking about developments and the importance of having those trees incorporated in that. So yeah, thanks for boosting the message. Thank you.
Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, thanks for this. I was waiting for a while to see the outcome of this. I do think, would hope we're ambitious and think beyond the tree preservation bylaw. I think, thinking beyond just trees is important. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Sometimes it can seem there's a trade-off between development and tree retention, but I think it's probably the key to making the densification that's important successful. And so we just have to figure out how to do these things together. I'll reflect, there's a lot of things I liked about Open Street Day the last couple of years we've had it, but one of the things I haven't enjoyed is the absence of trees, and there's just this big paved open space, and it's not as a great event as it could have been, I think, primarily for that reason. So some real opportunity here, and really look forward to seeing this information reflected through a number of our policies. And I will sort of say, I've also had a question, which future discussion along the lines of Councillor Anderson, but can we prioritize tree age and not just size? And does that make sense? And maybe that's a bit of a discussion. We seem to get very emotionally attached to trees, especially as they've been around for a long time. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pettingill. Any other comments? So just quickly for me, thank you very much, not just for this work on the tree canopy, but for all the work OurSquamish does. The organization in a very short time period has gelled, matured, and made a significant difference in our community, and that's very much appreciated. So, Council, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all three. And we have a break scheduled. We are a little bit behind, but let's come back and resume this meeting at 3:40. Thank you. Okay, that brings us back from our recess. Thank you very much for giving us a few minutes to recharge glasses and whatever else. The next item on our agenda is item C from Corporate Services, Squamish Youth Council Annual Presentation. And we'll turn it over to the other end of the table.
Thank you. I'm Jenny Franks, Legislative Assistant to Mayor and Council, and I'm here with Christine, who's the facilitator of the Squamish Youth Council from 2024 to 2025. I'm going to let the Youth Council do their presentation and kind of tell you a little bit about what they did this year and their personal experiences and you know what the benefits were to them of the Youth Council.
So this is an overview of what we'll be going over in our presentation. So first up is what is Youth Council, our impact for the past 2 years, and what does Youth Council mean to us? What is Squamish Youth Council? Squamish Youth Council is a group of youth ages 12 to 24 working together to solve issues that face young people in Squamish. Throughout our time as Youth Council, we choose a few projects to work on using a budget granted by the Squamish Council that we think will make a good impact on the youth of Squamish. So first is the Squamish Youth Excellence Awards. The idea of the Squamish Excellence Awards is to create empowerment for youth and the adults involved with youth in the community. During the process of creating the awards, we all wanted to create a positive and welcoming environment. It took many hours of hard work to create criteria, nominations, going over finalists, and emailing all finalists. In the end, the event went really well. There was lots of positive feedback from finalists and families, and we believe that it was a great opportunity for us to create a positive environment for those who create an impact for the community.
The Youth Entrepreneurship Market. As part of our big event celebrating youth excellence in Squamish, there was a youth entrepreneurship held at the Bracknell Art Gallery. It started last year by another Youth Council member with the goal of giving the youth entrepreneurs a small business and a chance to sell their products to a new audience. We repeated the same event and incorporated it to a bigger event with the goal of creating an even larger audience.
I really do think this event had a huge impact on the community. When we created it, we were really hoping that this would be an opportunity not only for the vendors to showcase their businesses, but also for them to gain many transferable skills that they can use in their future careers or even just life, such as leadership, team building, and public speaking and everything like that that could really help them. Even as we were helping vendors pack up, we got a ton of positive feedback on the event, as well as people saying they didn't even know about Youth Council until that event. And so it was just really cool to see youth out there with their businesses and even more recognition towards Youth Council, which is just super cool to see for us. So another part of the event was microgrants. Originally, it was meant as a youth initiative for events and projects, but we kind of redirected it to nonprofits who can impact tons of youth. We designed a rubric, advertised microgrants, and reached out to multiple nonprofits to apply. We would read and listen to their ideas on how they would impact tons of youth by the end of the year. In the end, it was successful, and we had multiple businesses applying for microgrants of $1,000. We successfully gave 7 nonprofits a grant of $1,000, and by the end of this year, they have a plan to successfully execute their event and project that will impact over 100 youth.
Skate Night. Skate Night was made as an idea for an event for youth to get together. As there are not a lot of youth engagement in the community, we thought about something that would bring youth together, as well as something that would be enjoyable for everyone. One of the first steps that we took were emailing back and forth with the Brennan Park staff to book the skate rink for the event. We then printed out the posters, we got the decorations for the event and made it happen. And we impacted almost over 100 youth.
One of the things we did to make a difference was printing, cutting, and pasting sticky notes on lockers in schools around Squamish. The sticky notes had a bunch of motivational quotes and inspirational sentences to get the students arriving at those schools to have a good start to their day.
So yeah, sticky notes was a thing we put together, a smaller project aimed at trying to uplift youth in the community. It was just something that we thought would have a good impact on youth. It was our first thing we did as a council this term. And there are actually still a couple sticky notes up in the school that have managed to stay up.
So how have each and every single one of us been impacted by Squamish Youth Council this year? Hi, my name is Melanie, and I'm a grade 10 student at Housetown Secondary. For me, Youth Council has had a big impact. As someone who was present in the creation of the Youth Excellence Awards, it was very empowering for me to create something that can help recognize other youth and adults in the community. Youth Council has allowed me to connect with new people, learn how council functions and how someone is voted in, and how important it is to try and make an impact for youth in the community. I am very grateful that I'm able to have this opportunity to be here right now, and I'm excited for the future of Youth Council.
Hi, my name's Ellie, and I'm a grade 11 student at Housetown Secondary, and Youth Council taught me a lot of new things this year. I've gained many new skills such as leadership, time management, and organization, especially when it comes to event planning. Our event that we kind of like headlined a little bit was the market, and that event has happened before, and it still took a ton of planning, so lots of learning there. I've also gotten so many incredible opportunities that I really wouldn't have gotten without it, such as talking to various adults in the community who have outlets to make a difference, or an interview on Mountain FM, which I probably never would have said yes to about a year ago. I learned that youth opinions can actually be taken seriously if you have the right outlets. And like I said, how much planning goes into events and things like that. Anyways, I loved it and had a great year.
My name is Zeffie, and I'm a grade 9 student at Don Ross Middle School. Being a part of the Squamish Youth Council has impacted me in many ways. I've learned how to be a part of a new group, and it's given me the confidence to speak up and participate in conversations I normally wouldn't. I got to learn about all the time and effort it takes to create and run events such as the skate nights and the youth awards nights. It has made me feel more connected to my community, and it has taught me awareness of the issues that are facing the youth in Squamish. I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and I will continue to volunteer and engage my time in my community, making a positive change.
Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm a grade 11 student at Housetown Secondary. For me, Youth Council it's been such an extraordinary experience. It's something that I really hope is going to have a lasting impact for future generations. This is kind of the first time I've been involved with the community in any meaningful way. I've never really gotten involved in volunteer work before. It taught me a bunch of things, especially like how to set up and how to run events in the community. So if I ever feel like attempting to start an event on my own, I know I'll have support. I know there's people in the community that I can get involved with who can help out. I just really think it's going to be a great thing for youth in the future if it continues.
Hi, I'm Thea. I'm a grade 12 student at Housetown. Before moving to Squamish, I was really worried about fitting in, making friends, and feeling accepted into a new place. The idea of not belonging or struggling to connect with friends or others terrified me. But joining the youth council changed everything. It helped me feel more confident, learn new useful skills, and find a strong support system. Being a part of the council has been an incredible experience for me. My goal has always been to help people in any way I can, and the Youth Council not only gave me a welcoming community, but also helped and allowed me to help others in meaningful ways. I've had the chance to help organize events that bring youth together, highlight their talents, and recognize the hard work of youth mentors and organizations. This experience has helped me grow as a leader while making a positive impact. Thanks to the Youth Council, I've gained valuable knowledge, lasting friendships and relationships, and the confidence to be myself. I'm truly grateful for the support and memories I've received, and I'm committed to continuing to help others just as the Youth Council helped me.
I'm speaking on behalf of Eric, and he is a grade 11 student at House Sound. There's a lot to say about how has the Youth Council impacted on me. It's so exciting to work with everyone in the Youth Council, and I had a good time there. For the Youth Council, for the Youth Excellence Awards, I was in charge of making a spreadsheet for presenting every nominee's information to help others deciding who were the final winners. During the process, I was able to learn new skills. Another memory is about communicating with adults. Although the process was not quite easy, but I gained the skills around that. I'm so happy to see that we actually made an impact on the community. It's so good to be a part of this.
Hi, my name is Felicia. I'm a grade 10 student at House Sound Secondary, and I've been a part of the Youth Council since September. The Youth Council has a huge impact on me. It's given me a space to connect with other youth in the community who really want to make a difference. One of the best parts of my experience was working on the youth entrepreneurship. It felt great to be involved in something that supported young people and are building something of their own. Youth Council has shown me how much power youth can have when we come together. It's inspired me to keep using my voice and ideas to create change. This experience has definitely made me more interested in staying involved in our community work and in leadership in the future. I'm so glad that Youth Council gave me this opportunity.
Hi, my name is Grant. I'm a grade 12 student at House Sound, and this is my third term on the Squamish Youth Council. Youth Council means so much to me, and it should to every other youth in the community. It's given youth in our community a real valuable voice. It's given myself and many other youth a chance to speak for youth on important social issues. And most importantly, it's given youth a chance to speak for those who don't have a voice. I remember when I was a young grade 7 student, wondering why youth don't have a voice in the community. It's always the important people or those who are given a chance to speak that are able to share their opinion. Youth aren't consulted enough, aren't asked for their opinion enough when those in higher positions, those older than us, make the decisions. Upon realizing this, I promised myself that I would try and change this. I emailed the Squamish Chief newspaper asking that there be a youth column created for youth to share their voice. I tried to represent youth more, volunteering with Ant in the Park, helping Squamish arts at various events, and even joining a poetry club at the library, where I was surrounded by retired women. That was quite the experience. But it still felt like I was one against the world. Youth Council has not only given me the opportunity to speak up, to have a voice in the community, and to advocate for youth, but it has given me an opportunity to join together with other youth in the community to do so. Youth Council makes me feel like I'm not alone in advocating for youth. It makes me realize that there are other youth who feel the same as I do. And though the Youth Council has only been around for 4 years, I feel like it can truly become an integral part of our community. Youth Council has the potential to represent youth in important decisions, to speak up for youth when discussing the future, and to advocate for youth in Squamish. Although it's still in its infancy, Youth Council has had a profound impact on me, and I hope that it will continue to impact youth the way it has impacted me. I would also like to sincerely thank the Mayor and Council for supporting the Youth Council, and I seriously hope that it's something that you all will support and continue to back. I'm also speaking on behalf of Ani. Ani couldn't make it here today. This is just some ways in which Youth Council has impacted her. It's allowed her to gain valuable experience in planning events, problem solving, and working with a dedicated group of peers. I know that through my time meeting Ani, she's relatively new here. She came from San Diego only, I believe, a couple of years ago. It's allowed her to learn more about many organizations in Squamish that strive to create positive change in our town. It's not only inspired her to find more volunteers opportunities in Squamish, but it's also vastly increased her interest in a career in public service or civic leadership. I know that we both share a great interest in law, and it's clear that this is definitely kind of made her want to go down that path even more.
Thank you.
Thank you. So well coordinated. Great teamwork. Council, are there any questions? Follow up. Mayor Herford, you look like you're leaning in there. Councillor Anderson, you got a hand up, so go ahead.
Very good. One of your members has mentioned that it's his third term, I believe, Grant. Is there a good opportunity to continue involvement over 1, 2, 3 terms? And it would occur to me that you can grow into the role and learn more about what you can take on next time. Is that the case, that there's opportunity for multi-year experience in the Youth Council?
So I know that the term limit used to be 2 years. I know that was changed this is my third term. I know that the Youth Council has been so great at creating opportunities for youth, even if they're not on Youth Council or even if they're already done their terms. I know that when we hosted our event, we had a few Youth Council members, prior Youth Council members, that won awards. And yes, I do believe that Youth Council does offer opportunities for past council members, and I believe that there's definitely room for more opportunities with, being an ambassador for Youth Council and even coming and mentoring. I think that's something that Youth Council can definitely
Thank you.
Mayor Herford, you're good? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ms. McLeod.
I just wanted to add to that. When the program started, the thought was that you could do a 1-year or a 2-year term, but you would have to apply again every year. And so it would not be a guarantee. And I would say every year we've maybe had about 12 to 15% repeat. Grant would be the first person who's done a third term, and it did 2 consecutive terms and then kind of skipped a year. But his application was really compelling. And given that Grant was actually part of the beginning youth engagement back in 2013, we couldn't really say no, and it's been really cool to see him grow as a leader to come back in a senior role in grade 12.
Okay. Councillor Penningill.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And I happened to go to the awards event in the market, and it was a fantastic event. So thank you for putting that on. And actually, the skate night was a lot of fun as well. Now, I heard I guess a common theme for me in listening to what people are saying is increased connection to community, some increased desire to volunteer and to help out. That really came strongly across to me, and to show leadership in different ways. I didn't hear as much about, I want to become a counselor. And I'm just actually curious a little bit about that. And there's no right or wrong answer here, but for me, it was that sort of community engagement and involvement piece that sung out really strongly in what you're saying. And so I'm just sort of wondering, I don't know if you have any reflections on that.
That is a good question. Yeah, I mean, I do think that quite a few people on this council are looking to go into things like law, where there's kind of that aspect of justice and, kind of making decisions that impact communities. I think there are opportunities in the future for sure for youth to actually meet one-on-one, not one-on-one with counselors, but kind of, get to meet counselors, and for counselors to come in and, talk about what their role is, what that looks like, how you get into that career. I know that in Youth Council, we've had a chance to learn about how the mayor and council runs. But I definitely think there's opportunity for counselors to, come in and say hi. We definitely don't play. And we're interested in talking with you guys. I know that in the past, before Mayor Herford was on the council, he came in and would sit on some meetings. I believe other councilors in the past have as well. Yeah, I think there's totally opportunity for that to happen in the future.
Council, go ahead, Councillor Greenlaw.
Yeah, I was just wondering. Well, thanks so much for coming today. It's great to hear what you've been up to and all the contributions you've made to our community. And one of the things I've been thinking about lately is like, what are youth doing around town for fun, and what would you like to see more of in town for youth?
I personally think it's not what to do, but everyone who's doing it. I think that, well, I come from the Philippines and then Nova Scotia and then Ontario and then just moved here a couple months ago. It's not that well, of course, there's not like a lot to do, but it's the engagement within the youth. Like you kind of have to force them to do stuff because there is a lot to do. There's communities where you can go. There's the youth hub. There's a lot of things where if you want to actually engage with people you want to be with. The thing is, I personally think like youth council helps bring youth together. It's where we put on events where you have to go. So you have to meet new people. And again, it's not the problem. It's I don't know how to clearly explain it. It's just the kids and the youth wanting to do stuff together. That's the main, I guess, problem, the issue here. It's just you have to show them that being together in a community that is welcoming, that wants you to be there, that wants to share a connection together is amazing. And I think, yeah, sorry, that was just everything.
Councillor Stoner.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks so much for being here and for your presentation, all the work throughout the year. I think most of my points are comments, but my one question that I have is I'm curious about how you folks learned about Youth Council. So I know Grant's story a little bit, but if we think about extending this to another year, engagement, I think one of you mentioned that you were running the youth entrepreneur market, and that was like the first time that a lot of people had heard about Youth Council. So that's great exposure. But I'm curious if you have any thoughts about like how you got tapped into it, how we encourage more folks to apply if we were to go forward.
Personally, it was actually another youth council member, Ryan. She was like, oh yeah, I saw this online. Like I saw this online and I was going to apply. Do you want to apply with me? And so, yeah, I'm not really sure where else I would have like seen it, but for me, at least, it was just like from other people rather than like posters and things like that.
For me as well, my mom had mentioned it to me saying that she would like to see me part of it. And when I read more, I did find more interest into it. And it did, like, I was inspired to do something of my own. So that's where me and Ellie had gone and done the youth entrepreneurship market.
I kind of have the same story. I had it mentioned through friends and family. And as I started to learn more about it, I got really engaged because I've always been doing small things. And I was just like, really excited to be something a part of bigger and work with other people who care about youth in the community.
I personally was trying to look for something to do. So I joined the youth council in my school, as well as try to find something that was community-based in Squamish, because I knew like, versus the big cities I've been from, it's a small town. So it was a previous Squamish youth council member. Wait, who was it? Kiana told me about it. Although, as we were doing the activities and the events, more people asked me about it through social media, as well as just talking to me about it and how they can sign up for the next term.
I actually learned about youth council through school last year because I was eligible because I was turned 14. But I wanted to hold off until this year so I could do it in grade 10 and 11 if it was going to still run.
Yeah, well, I mean, I found out about it because I was part of the youth strategy. That was when I was in grade 7, so I guess 2019. I think the majority of people, at least that I've known on the youth council, it's been through important people in their life, mentors, teachers, family members that have, wanted to see them in a place where they could make important decisions. I also think that our Instagram, because of the events we've done, we're starting to get a better following. And I think that actually quite a few people are finding out about it through Instagram. So I think that's also a good resource. But I do think it's a lot of just word of mouth.
Anything else, Councillor Stoner?
I have a few questions to staff and council, but I'll do that after we move our seat. Thanks.
Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks very much for coming and doing all the work you've done over the past year or 3 years or however many years you've been on Youth Council. I noticed that Youth Council appears very grade 10 to grade 12. Obvious reasons for that. There's the Don Ross to Howe Sound divide. And then post Howe Sound, it's probably difficult to get students, youth who have graduated back into that community. Can you think of ways to expand the Youth Council to that 12 to 14 age range a little bit more, or the above? 14. It's 12 to 24, sorry. The 12 to, I'm trying to, both directions. That's what I mean. How to expand the age range of the Youth Council, the interest in the Youth Council.
Yep, go ahead, Ms. McCall.
In the first 2 years of Youth Council, we did have a few people who at the time were at Quest. There was sort of 2 the first year, 1 the second, and another one in the 3rd year, I think. The feedback from those older youth, they were really engaged in it, but because there wasn't a critical mass, just by nature of their skill set and their age and maturity, they loved being on Youth Council, but there wasn't enough of them to make it feel like they had something for them. So what would happen is they would be sitting at a table with some grade 9s and 10s, and they would almost take on this natural leadership and mentor role. Whereas I think we do have young adults in the community, because the youth strategy is 14 to 24, that are just in a bit of a different place than these guys. There's sort of a natural cutoff at grade 12 where this is your world. I think whether you go to post-secondary, whether you just work in the community, whether you've moved to the community at 18 to 24, I just think you're in a different place. So I think there's definitely lots of opportunity. But we debated it last year, whether we open it to that group. We just left it open to see who applied. But with Quest closing down and kind of that word of mouth, I think that's naturally, and I think it's okay that right now Youth Council is 10 to 12, unless there's a real strategy around kind of hitting that 18 to 24, which is just a different little bit of a niche.
Follow up from Councillor Hamilton. As we see Capilano University find its feet here and increase its student capacity, could you see CapU potentially playing a larger role? Okay, so
we did reach out to CapU with the application and asked them to forward it to all of their students. So they did get the information, but unfortunately, just for this session, there wasn't any expressions of interest to join. But I think if we continue that, and there's, like Christine said, if there are more members that are interested, it could become.
There's only 30 students at CAP this year, so.
Yeah. 30 students is a very small student load, for sure. Councillor Stoner.
Thanks. Through the chair. Youth Council sits at an interesting intersection. It's a council priority. It's majority consultant led, as staff supported. This is a question I think probably to staff. I am just curious how, if we have any reflections, and perhaps to Christine as well, how Youth Council is functioning from an operational perspective as we think about moving this forward. We're kind of 5 years into the youth strategy. As Grant mentioned, it was 2019. If there's an opportunity here to kind of review some of the lessons learned over the past 4 years of Youth Council, the 5 years of youth strategy, if there's any thoughts around that at this time.
Thank you for the question and through the chair. I think it's a absolutely valid question, and certainly there have been so many successes with Youth Council. It has evolved, and so has council. It started with a different council. I think that generally with the youth strategy, it would be valuable to have a look at the overarching strategy and see where we're at with it. You know, what objectives have been met, what are outstanding, and what makes the most sense going forward, as well as like refreshing what and who leads this initiative, how it's resourced. It feels right now a little bit ad hoc with staff, and it sort of bounces around with the staff. And Jenny has been an absolute champion in supporting Christine and the youth in terms of making sure that it happens. And I think it's always valuable to review something and see what we've learned, how we can do it better, and where council wants to see it continue.
Grant, I see your hand there. I want to go to Ms. McLeod and then to you.
I think some of you were here on the past council. I think if you haven't had a chance to recently read the youth strategy, I think you have a chance to glance at it. It's such an amazing document. And it's a document that through Tim Hoskin and his team, through engagement, created this document that I don't think was ever meant to be owned fully by the district. I think it was meant to be a guiding document of how, as we a community, can actually hear the youth and do these things. So if you look at the youth strategy, there's 4 different pillars in it. And if you actually look at Youth Council is one recommendation in one pillar. And so if you kind of look at the pillars, there's some natural tendencies that maybe fits better with certain partners that we have in the community, whether it be the chamber or Sea to Sky Community Services, or kind of now we have Foundry and youth services. So if you sort of reread the youth strategy, it's really valid to sit and think about pausing and looking at it, but it's an amazing document. And I think the opportunity, like Linda said, would be to just maybe pause and just take a look at what have we done really well, what's still missing, what could we do with the resources that we have, because obviously resources aren't finite, and if it's not a priority anymore from a budget standpoint, there might be other things that are more important, then maybe there's a different way to tackle it.
Great. Grant.
So, I mean, since the first term of Youth Council, I think it's night and day how it runs. I know the first term was very much establishing, okay, well, what is the Youth Council? But I think, well, the Youth Council still is in its infancy because it is still a new thing. I do believe that it is really evolving, and I think that it's evolving quickly. I do think that there are opportunities for it to have maybe more ambassador, like former Youth Council members' involvement, if that's something that we can do. Maybe there's a little something that, you know, can be done to make those former Youth Council members want to do it and want to be a part of it in the future, kind of as a mentor, as an ambassador. But I do also think there's so many opportunities for Youth Council to flourish, whether it's meeting every month or whether it's sitting in on council meetings and providing input. I know some youth have very strong opinions about things, and I do genuinely think that the Youth Council can be used in many areas, in many ways. And yeah, I do think it is night and day from how it started and when it started.
All right, Council, any final questions? Councillor Stoner is moving receipt, and Councillor Hamilton will second that. Are there any comments? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Stoner.
Yeah, briefly, through the chair, thanks again so much for being here, for all your work throughout the year, for your reflections on what you've learned, what you've taken away. Some of the notes that I made, I think, touch on so many of the 4 aspects within the youth strategy. So elevating youth voices, getting community spaces to provide more programming and services through the microgrant program, feeling connected, belonging, connected to community. Youth opinions can actually be taken seriously. I think I heard somebody say, which is really great to feel like your voice really does matter. And then the other one that really struck with me is that it can be difficult or challenging to communicate with adults, and that's not always easy. And I would say the opposite is true too. Sometimes we have a hard time reaching out and figuring out how we best communicate with youth. And that's one thing that I've always really loved about the Youth Council, is that it does kind of act as a sounding board, as a space where youth voices can be elevated. And I just think my question around how we think about this going forward after kind of 4 to 5 years of implementation is really on how can we make it better going forward for more people to draw on the benefits of it. There's different ways that youth councils are run from different communities across the province. And so I think it's time for us to take stock together on what is working, how we can do it better, and what pieces of the youth strategy we might want to elevate going forward in addition to this. And so just a thanks again for all your work and for your feedback today and for being here.
Any other comments? Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, thanks very much for being here. I think the work of the Youth Council is an extraordinarily valuable piece of work for helping our young people in the community feel like they have a space and have a voice. I'm extraordinarily impressed by the leadership that you've demonstrated by stepping up to volunteering for the Youth Council. It really is a big commitment that is appreciated. I certainly appreciate your efforts and see the value it brings to the community. In terms of having a voice, there's actually the youth column, and I know this wasn't directly a Youth Council initiative, but in 2022, Grant wrote an opinion for the chief that actually sat with me for quite a while, and the title was "Change is Inevitable, so Prepare for It." And I think that has spoken very powerfully to me as a councillor for a lot of what we do here in council, preparing for change. So I hope that that has spoken to me. That is your voice that has certainly spoken to me. And all of you know, I hope you know that your voices do matter to the leaders who are sitting around this table, because we know that whatever changes we are making are going to be impacting you more than they're impacting us. So thanks very much for your work.
Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple things, I was reflecting, was it last week? It was with the all ages strategy we had. So thinking about all ages and abilities, it made me recognize that, I had dropped the ball in terms of, so much on our plate, and okay, youth council's got the youth strategy sorted, don't need to think about that, but it's made me think about and going to the events that, oh, there's actually a lot more to this youth strategy. And so I'm hoping actually, I'm not sure what the action is, but in our strategic planning, this wasn't a topic of discussion to my mind as we come up to budget and so on. I would like to figure out how we sort of do a check-in, especially as we add in all ages strategy about, are we meeting sort of prioritizing the things we're wanting to prioritize, and so taking a bit of time to reflect back on that, and are we missing things in the youth strategy and so on, I think is important. I will say, and to Councillor Stoner's point, maybe it seems intimidating to speak to us as councillors. Sometimes we think of ourselves, or I do, as just like some regular person, and I know I sit in this chair and it's people remind me, you're a councillor, and it's intimidating for people. I don't feel intimidating. I actually feel, even when I was at the event, I'm naturally an introvert. I feel intimidated talking to you folks. So there's like a dual sort of wall there. But just to encourage you, we are very eager to speak to any of you. So never feel shy about asking any of us to come to council to talk about something, or just sit down for a coffee or a tea, and if you'd rather us go with a teacher or parent or whatever, that's fine too. I know some of us have sometimes been invited to a classroom to speak, which we would generally love to do. So please don't hesitate to ask us. I want to thank you for all the work that I saw at the skate night and the youth awards and the the entrepreneurship fair. That wasn't the right term, but that's what I'm calling it. It's just so much work went into that. It was really exciting. Such a fun events. Just the smiles on everyone's faces was great, and the size of the community that came out was fantastic. And I want to take a minute too, Christine, to thank you. I know, you know, on the surface, these events can look polished and easy, but there's a massive amount of work that goes into these, that went into these, I know, to make them happen. And so, you know, this wouldn't have happened without all the extra you put in. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Pettingill. Any other comments? I have some thoughts of my own, and then I'll let Mayor Herford have the final word. I too attended the skate night and was impressed by how well organized it was and the level of friendship and acceptance. I clearly was one of the oldest people there, and yet I was joking around with more than a few of the young people who felt comfortable mocking me and commenting on my hair or lack thereof. But that one event that was my participation in this past year just underlined for me how important the work of the Youth Council is, and Ms. McLeod, your work in it, because I saw that night your level of passion for Youth Council and the young people of our community. And we all know that we live in a social media and digital world. So from your presentation today, one thing that really struck out at me is the sticky note marketing campaign. I love it. I love how analog that is and how not digital and not relying on social media that initiative was inspired. Mayor Herford.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation today. It's been an honor to work with you all year through this. I think you did an excellent job of representing what Youth Council has achieved this year. And I was particularly impressed with your ability to speak on behalf of your Youth Council mates that wanted to have their voice heard, but weren't able to attend today. So thank you so much for that, and the insight into what it means for what the experience has been for you. Every time I leave a Youth Council meeting or event, I honestly am inspired and know that the world's going to be in great hands when the young leaders we have here move into more senior leadership roles. So including seats around this table potentially in the future. So yeah, thank you for that. People often ask me, you know, what keeps you up at night and what are you worried about? And there's lots of things to worry about, but for me, I'm looking for things that help me sleep at night and know that the world's going to be in good hands. And the leadership that you've all shown is one of those things that gives me confidence that we're all going to be okay. I'd like to thank Jenny and Christine for all the work in making this happen over the term, as well as we had involvement from Bill Stoner and Julie Vengi, as well as staff sort of sponsors of this. So yeah, I think it's been an interesting year. I look forward to sort of future conversations around the rest of the impact of this program, how it's delivered, overall Youth Council, all those or overall youth strategy, sorry, and look forward to those future conversations. But thank you so much, everybody. Good job.
Okay, great. With that, I will call the question, and council, I'm interested to know, is anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Councillor Stoner.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'd also like my council colleagues to consider a follow-up motion, which would be that staff bring back a memo on an update and review of the youth strategy implementation for council discussion at a future committee of the whole. And if it's seconded, I'll speak to it.
Councillor Hamilton seconding that. Go ahead, Councillor Stoner.
Thank you. Through the chair, for consideration for my council colleagues, as I mentioned earlier, Youth Council and the youth strategy, I think, sits at a really interesting intersection of predominantly a council priority, but is consultant-led, staff-supported, It's been 5 years since we adopted the youth strategy back in 2019, and we've had 4 years of experiencing different iterations and versions of Youth Council. And as we've heard from Grant and others, it has changed over the years. We've had a lot of lessons learned. And so I think now is a good time just to take stock of where this is sitting. The Youth Council is one component of a much broader strategy. And I think us doing some due diligence on understanding where we're making progress on the other components of the youth strategy and how it might integrate into some of the other plans that we have adopted since this one. So like the all ages plan that came to us last week would be a helpful conversation for us to have ideally before we go into next budget, if at all possible. But there's no timeline on this motion because I haven't actually vetted it with staff. So it can hopefully come back to a future committee of the whole. And Victoria, I will send you the language of my motion for your note taking. Thank you. But if hopefully my council colleagues will support it.
Councillor Pettingill.
Yeah, clarifying question to staff, actually. Is this something that would be able to come back in time for us to contemplate during budget?
Probably, yes. So Councillor Pettingill, maybe just roll that one more time, please.
Yeah, is this something, this sort of committee of the whole discussion, something that we could plan to have in time for budget so that if there were any outcomes that had budget impacts, we'd have time to implement them for?
Through the chair, and thanks for your patience. I can't commit to that right now. We can endeavor to do that, absolutely recognizing the urgency of it. But I would need to confer with staff and make sure that we have the capacity to do that. We have been chatting about this, and so it's already on staff's radar in terms of what it might take to do this review. And I'm an optimist, so I'd like to say yes, but don't hold me to it until I can go back and talk to the people affected.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Mayor Herford, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is an important step that without it we don't stand a chance of having it integrated in there. So I'll support the resolution for that reason. Get this in process, and hopefully I'm also an optimist, can inform budget process going forward.
Thanks. I will support it then as well. Just for my thought process, I would prefer if it looks like this might be a bigger review than we had thought. I'd rather just have a higher level sort of gut check in time for budget so that if there are things we can act upon or think about. I do feel like this was a bit of a miss in our strategic planning. And so I feel like I dropped the ball there a little bit. So just understanding where we are, and just for clarity for everyone in the room, I'm not in my mind right now is like, oh, how can we cut things? I'm like making sure that what I feel is really important work, and the youth strategy is something I was proud of that we did in our first term, and I want to make sure that we are being very effective with it. And so don't want to miss that opportunity this year if we have an opportunity to improve things. Thank you.
Are there any other comments before I call the question? Council, are there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Just one moment while I check what we're up to next, Mayor Herford. Oh, yes. Councillor Hamilton, go ahead.
A motion to terminate.
That's seconded by Councillor Stoner. Mayor Herford, would you like to comment? I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. We are back here at 6 p.m. for the regular meeting. Thank you, folks. And